A whisper echoes with impossible clarity deep inside a stone chamber built thousands of years ago. This is not a lucky accident, but the signature of a lost science. We are rediscovering the ancient mastery of acoustics in Monumental Chambers, and by the end of this journey, you will see the ancient world not as primitive, but as profoundly advanced in ways we are only just relearning. How did cultures across the globe engineer spaces where sound could heal, prophesize, or even mimic sacred birds? What forgotten principles of sonic architecture are hidden in plain sight? Why does the very way we hear these ancient spaces challenge everything we thought we knew about history? These chambers are defined by a single, remarkable purpose. They are not simply grand rooms, but instruments carved from stone, designed to conduct sound in ways that defy ordinary experience. Consider the Grand Gallery within the Great Pyramid. Its steep, corbelled walls do more than support immense weight. They act as a resonant channel, amplifying specific low frequencies and creating a profound sonic environment. Or journey to the underground labyrinth of Malta's Hal Saflieni Hypogeum. In one particular room, known as the Oracle Chamber, a deep voice spoken at a certain pitch does not just fill the space, it penetrates the very stone, becoming audible across all three subterranean levels with unsettling clarity. These effects are not random. They are the product of precise proportions, carefully selected materials, and intentional geometry. The builders understood, on an intuitive or perhaps a deeply studied level, the physics of resonance, the way a space can be tuned like a musical instrument to strengthen certain sounds. They manipulated reverberation, the persistence of sound as it reflects off surfaces, and even harnessed standing waves, patterns where sound appears to stand still, creating nodes of intense quiet and areas of powerful amplification. When we see this same sophisticated understanding applied in pyramids, in subterranean temples, and in megalithic tombs across the globe, a pattern emerges. It points not to isolated accidents, but to a shared, forgotten technological paradigm, one where the manipulation of sound was a cornerstone of monumental architecture. This foundational idea transforms these silent stones into a chorus of evidence, waiting for us to learn how to listen. From the echoing chambers of a Scottish tomb to the steps of a Mayan pyramid, this acoustic mastery reveals itself as a global signature. The phenomenon appears again at the Neolithic monument of Micho in Scotland, where a single spoken word can hang in the air, its reverberations lingering for an astonishing length of time within the stone passageway. Far across the Atlantic at Chichén Itzá, the Temple of Kukulkan performs a different kind of magic. A hand clap at the base of the massive staircase is not returned as a simple echo, but is transformed into a crisp chirping sound, a perfect mimic of the revered Quetzal bird, a creature sacred to the Maya. And then there is the Theatre of Epidaurus in Greece, a structure so acoustically perfect that a whisper uttered on its stone stage can be understood with absolute clarity by someone sitting in the very last row, high above. These are not isolated marvels, they are connected by a common thread of intent. When societies separated by vast oceans and millennia all choose to invest immense effort into shaping sound within their most important structures, we are witnessing something profound. This recurring architectural choice suggests that the power of sound, its ability to transform an experience and connect with something greater, was a foundational pillar for humanity itself. The question then becomes not if they did it, but how. How did they sculpt stone to sing, and what tools of mind and mathematics did they use to tune their world? That magical force of resonance is a hidden key to these ancient chambers. Think of a child on a swing, pushing at just the right moment to go higher and higher with minimal effort. That is resonance in action, a matching of rhythms where energy builds powerfully. The ancients did not have oscilloscopes or tuning forks, yet they built rooms that functioned like the body of a cello, vibrating profoundly at specific frequencies. One of the most telling examples is found in Ireland's Newgrange tomb, a structure older than the pyramids. Researchers discovered that its central chamber naturally resonates at a frequency of 110 Hz. This is not a random number. Modern studies have shown that exposure to this specific tone can shift brainwave patterns, quieting the prefrontal cortex linked to our everyday focus and potentially opening the door to more relaxed, creative, or even meditative states of mind. How did they achieve this precise sonic tuning without modern tools? The answer lies in a deep understanding of the space itself. They were effectively calculating the chamber's volume, the density and reflective quality of the stone, and the complex shapes that would guide and contain the sound waves. The result was a giant stone singing bowl, an instrument designed to amplify a frequency that could directly influence human consciousness. This was not a happy accident repeated across continents, but a deliberate architectural choice. The builders were acting as both engineers and healers, using the very fabric of their structures to craft an experience that went beyond mere hearing, reaching into the mind itself. And this profound manipulation of sound was only possible because of the specific materials they chose to work with. But resonance is only half the acoustic story. The other vital principle at play is reverberation, the lingering life of sound within a space. While resonance tunes the frequency, reverberation controls the duration, creating the echo that can make a whisper feel eternal. Ancient builders mastered this echo, transforming their stone chambers into immersive sonic instruments. They selected materials with incredible care, using hard, smooth surfaces like polished limestone and granite, not just for their durability, but for their perfect sound-reflecting properties. In the underground world of Malta's hypogeum, this mastery is breathtakingly clear. A single note can hang in the air, reverberating for over 8 seconds, washing through the interconnected chambers in a continuous, enveloping wave. This was no accident of excavation. The builders designed these spaces with a profound understanding of sound scattering. They crafted curved walls and domed ceilings not for mere aesthetics, but to break up and diffuse sound waves, preventing sharp, distracting echoes and instead creating a uniform, all-encompassing sound field. Imagine standing in such a space during a ceremonial chant. The sound would not come from a single direction, but from everywhere at once, surrounding you, filling the air, and becoming a physical presence you could almost feel. This control over reverberation transformed ritual into experience, turning a chamber into a sensory environment where the very air seemed to vibrate with meaning. Achieving this specific acoustic property required more than guesswork. It points to a sophisticated, empirical knowledge gained through generations of observation and experimentation. How did they plan such precise sonic landscapes without modern tools? This meticulous engineering pushes us to wonder what methods of measurement and models they used to translate an acoustic vision into solid, enduring stone. The absence of modern technology makes their acoustic precision even more profound. How do you build a perfect sound chamber without computers or microphones? The process began not with complex machinery, but with a deep, intuitive grasp of mathematics and geometry. Simple, elegant tools were their guides. A vibrating chord, like a long string stretched tight, could reveal fundamental resonant frequencies. A tuned pipe might have hummed with a specific note, helping builders understand the sonic character of a space before a single ton of stone was moved. They almost certainly constructed small-scale models, testing how sound would behave in miniature versions of their grand designs. learning through patient observation and empirical trial and error. This practical experimentation was guided by a universal principle, the Pythagorean concept of harmonic ratios. They understood that pleasing musical intervals, like the octave or the fifth, correspond to simple whole number ratios. Remarkably, these same ratios are physically built into the dimensions of many ancient chambers. The length of a room might be 1.5 times its width, creating the same 3:2 ratio that defines a perfect fifth in music. By building these harmonious proportions directly into their architecture, they ensured the space itself would naturally amplify and enrich specific, spiritually significant sounds. For these master builders, there was no separation between the mathematics of music, the geometry of sacred space, and the physics of sound. It was a single, unified science, a way of seeing the universe where number, form, and vibration were intertwined. Their true technology was not hardware, but a sophisticated knowledge system based on proportion, scale, and a profound relationship with the natural world. This mastery of pre-industrial engineering finds one of its ultimate expressions in the open air, in the breathtaking acoustics of the Greek amphitheater. The theater at Epidaurus achieves something that challenges modern engineers. Constructed in the 4th century before the Common Era, its design transforms a whisper into a clear message heard by thousands. The secret lies not in one single feature, but in a symphony of architectural choices working in perfect harmony. The semi-circular arrangement of its limestone seats does more than provide a view. It acts as a sophisticated acoustic filter. The stepped rows naturally absorb the low-frequency rumble of a restless crowd, the murmurs and shuffling that would normally drown out a performance. At the same time, the hard, smooth stone perfectly reflects the higher frequencies of an actor's voice, projecting those crisp consonants and vowels all the way to the last row, nearly 60 meters away. This is not a simple matter of creating an echo. The precise angle and height of each seat create a complex pattern of sound diffraction and interference, gently guiding the voice upward and outward in a coherent wave. Even the flat circular orchestra floor at the center likely played a role, acting as a resonant surface that gave the performers' voices a solid foundation to build upon. Modern attempts to digitally model this space often fall short of its real-world perfection, suggesting the builders possessed an intuitive or deeply studied knowledge of sound that we are still working to quantify. This was no fluke. The same acoustic excellence is found in theaters across ancient Greece, from Delphi to Athens, pointing to a standardized and widely understood set of architectural principles. In a society where theater was a cornerstone of civic life, religion, and storytelling, these acoustics served a deeply democratic purpose. They ensured that every citizen, from the front row to the very back, could share equally in the emotional and moral lessons of the play. This communal application of science makes you wonder how these same principles were used in spaces meant not for the many, but for the chosen few, in the most exclusive and sacred rites of the ancient world. Deep within the oracle chamber of Malta's hypogeum, a voice does not simply speak, it transforms. A low chant or a single word uttered into a specific niche does not fade. It swells, its tone deepening and warping as it echoes through the dark, interconnected halls, a disembodied presence that seems to come from the stone itself. For those gathered in the surrounding chambers, this was not a man-made sound. It was the voice of a spirit, an ancestor, or a god. The priest or oracle stationed in that resonant niche became a mere vessel, their own identity erased by the acoustic magic of the space, granting their pronouncements an unshakable, supernatural authority. This was not mere theater, it was a carefully engineered psychological experience. The same principle of acoustic manipulation was likely at work in the legendary Temple of Apollo at Delphi. While geological gases may have influenced the Pythia's trance state, the chamber's acoustics would have played a crucial supporting role. The reverberation and resonance within the enclosed space could have modulated her voice, making her murmurs and cries sound otherworldly to the petitioners who awaited her prophecies. The environment was designed to disorient, to blur the line between the internal and the external. Prolonged exposure to the low-frequency hum naturally present in such stone chambers, a tone around 110 Hz, is now known to shift brain activity, quieting our centers of daily logic and easing the mind into a more suggestible, impressionable state. In this altered consciousness, surrounded by a sound that felt both inside and outside the head, a visitor was perfectly prepared to receive a divine message. The religious elite who controlled these spaces understood this power intimately. They wielded acoustics as a tool not just of physics but of psychology and social order. By crafting an experience that felt authentically supernatural, they solidified their role as the essential bridge between humanity and the divine. This profound understanding of sound's effect on the human mind leads us to wonder if the same vibrations used to speak to gods could also be used to mend the human body. The same vibrations that summoned gods could also mend the human body. At the Asclepion of Epidaurus, patients did not just visit a temple, they entered a sanctuary of sound designed for healing. Here, individuals seeking relief would undergo a sacred process known as incubation, spending the night in a special hall to receive guidance and healing through their dreams. This was not a passive hope but an active therapeutic environment. The air would have been alive with the calming murmur of water from fountains and channels, the rhythmic cadence of priestly chants, and the harmonious strains of carefully chosen music. These sounds were not mere background noise, they were considered medicine for the soul and body. We now understand that the low-frequency vibrations naturally amplified in such stone chambers can have profound physiological effects. These resonant tones promote deep relaxation, lower stress, and some research even suggests they can stimulate cellular repair and tissue regeneration. The ancient practitioners likely perceived this not as physics, but as a balancing of the body's internal energies or humors. They were engaging in an early, sophisticated form of vibroacoustic therapy, using the physical power of sound waves to promote wellness from the inside out. This convergence of ritual, architecture, and healthcare reveals a worldview where sound was a tangible life force, as essential to health as any herbal remedy. It shows a society that sought harmony for the individual in the same way they tuned their sacred spaces with precision and purpose. This holistic vision did not stop at healing the human form. It extended outward, using the same principles of sound to chart the movements of the heavens themselves. The architecture of the ancients reached for the stars, not just in aspiration but in literal alignment. For these master builders, the grand movements of the heavens were not separate from the resonant hum of a stone chamber. They were two expressions of the same universal harmony. A compelling example of this unity is found once more at Newgrange. There, the breathtaking winter solstice sunrise does more than just illuminate the inner passage. It coincides with periods of unique acoustic activity within the tomb. The specific angle of the sunlight and the way it floods the chamber appears to interact with the space's natural resonant frequency, creating a moment where light and sound become a single, immersive phenomenon. This was no coincidence. It suggests the builders intentionally tuned their stone instrument to harmonize with this celestial event, creating a sacred moment that engaged all the senses. This idea stems from the ancient philosophy of musica universalis, the music of the spheres. This was the belief that the sun, moon, and planets in their majestic orbits generated a perfect, inaudible symphony of mathematical perfection. By constructing a chamber that physically resonated at a frequency they believed was related to this cosmic song, they were building a terrestrial receiver, a way for humanity to physically and spiritually attune itself to the order of the cosmos. The very stones were meant to sing in harmony with the heavens. In this worldview, there was no distinction between the geometer, the astronomer, and the acoustic engineer. They were all practitioners of a single, unified science, one that used sacred geometry and precise mathematics to create spaces that were a microcosm of a perfectly ordered universe. The pyramid, the tomb, the temple, these were not just buildings, they were models of existence designed to bring those within into alignment with the fundamental rhythms of creation. This grand, interconnected vision of reality presents us with the most profound puzzle of all. If this knowledge was so sophisticated and so widespread, how did such a profound understanding of the world simply fade from memory? This profound silence did not happen overnight. The decline of acoustic science was a slow fading, like an echo losing its strength across centuries. One of the primary causes was the collapse of the great empires that had been its patrons. When these centralized powers fractured, the learned priestly classes and master builder guilds who held this specialized knowledge were scattered. Their expertise, likely passed down through oral tradition and hands-on apprenticeship rather than written manuals, simply dissolved into the currents of history. Without a structured system to preserve it, this deep understanding of sonic architecture began to vanish. At the same time, the very nature of spiritual practice was transforming. There was a broad cultural shift away from immersive, sensory ritual experiences held in resonant stone chambers toward more textual and doctrinal forms of worship. The focus moved from feeling a God's presence in a vibrating stone to reading about divine law in a sacred book. This change in spiritual priorities meant there was no longer a powerful driving force to fund or maintain such acoustically precise construction. The purpose for the science had simply evaporated. Architectural tastes evolved as well. The grand stone chambers of antiquity gave way to buildings filled with wood beams, woven tapestries, and plaster walls. These new materials were excellent at absorbing sound, creating quieter, more intimate spaces that suited different social needs, but they completely eliminated the dramatic reverberation and resonant frequencies that were the hallmarks of the ancient art. The very texture of built sound had changed, and the old sonic palette was forgotten. Then came the age of enlightenment and the scientific revolution. This new worldview, for all its brilliance, often dismissed the knowledge of earlier cultures as primitive superstition. The idea that ancient people could have intentionally engineered sound for psychological or spiritual effect was written off as mere myth or happy accident. A mechanistic view of the universe took hold, one that rigorously separated the objective science of physics from the subjective realm of spirituality. In this new order, the haunting echoes of a Neolithic tomb were not studied as feats of engineering. They were noted as curious acoustic anomalies and then ignored. For hundreds of years, the stones themselves held the secret, but we had forgotten how to listen. The whispers in the chambers became ghost stories, their true meaning lost until a new era arrived with the tools and the humility to hear them again. The stones finally found their voice again in the late 20th century, not through legend but through science. A new discipline, archaeocoustics, emerged from the collaboration of archaeologists and sound engineers, armed with tools that could measure what the human ear could only feel. This was no longer about ghost stories or curious echoes, it was about data. Researchers like Professor Rupert Till and Dr. Miriam Kohler traveled to ancient sites with impulse response recorders and sophisticated three-dimensional audio software. At places like Peru's Chavin de Huanta, a complex network of stone corridors and plazas, they did not just listen, they mapped the acoustic fingerprint of every chamber. They measured reverberation times with stopwatch precision, charted how different frequencies were amplified or suppressed, and identified the precise standing wave patterns that made certain spots hum with energy and others fall into an unsettling quiet. The numbers told a clear story. The acoustic properties of these sites were not random background features. They were statistically significant, repeatable, and unmistakably intentional. This scientific validation transformed our understanding. The builders of Chavin de Huanta, for instance, used their intricate drainage canals not just for water, but to channel sound, creating a roaring, disorienting effect meant to simulate the voice of a powerful jungle jaguar deity. At Stonehenge, acoustic models suggest the massive blue stones, before they were rearranged over millennia, acted as a perfect sound reflector, creating a reverberant space ideal for communal gatherings and rituals. This hard evidence from archaeoacoustics forces a dramatic shift in perspective. It reveals ancient cultures as accomplished physicists and engineers who manipulated their environment with a sophistication we are only now learning to measure. We are no longer guessing at the purpose of a silent ruin. We are recovering its original voice, giving us a solid foundation to explore the most profound and controversial sonic phenomena ever discovered. Even with our most advanced tools, some ancient sounds defy complete explanation. Deep within the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid, the massive granite sarcophagus presents one of these enduring puzzles. When struck, it does not produce a dull thud but resonates with a distinct, low-frequency hum. Some researchers have proposed that this frequency aligns with the Schumann resonance, the fundamental electromagnetic heartbeat of the Earth's atmosphere. While this idea is fiercely debated and far from proven, the very possibility challenges our assumptions. Could this stone coffin have been more than a resting place, but a component in a larger, terrestrial instrument designed to harmonize with the planet itself? The granite was chosen with immense effort, suggesting its acoustic properties were as important as its durability. Across the sea in ancient Hattusa, the capital of the Hittite Empire, another sonic mystery stands in plain sight. A large, polished green rock known as the wishing stone emits a clear, metallic ring when tapped, a sound completely unexpected from its appearance. The source of this bell-like tone remains unclear. Was it a specific mineral composition known only to them, or a unique method of shaping the stone that gave it this singular voice? It served as a public focal point, a place where a simple action produced a magical result, demonstrating that the extraordinary was accessible to all. Then there is the chirp of the Maya. We understand the basic physics of the staircase at the temple of Kukulkan, transforming a clap into a bird call. Yet the precise acoustic mechanism that so perfectly mimics the revered Quetzal has eluded complete digital replication. The echo is not just a reflection, it is a sonic transformation of breathtaking accuracy. This suggests the Maya architects may have employed a subtle trick of sound diffraction, perhaps using the specific pattern of the steps or an unseen feature below them that our current models have not yet captured. These are not mere anomalies, they are humbling reminders that our rediscovery of this ancient science is a work in progress. They push at the boundaries of our understanding, forcing us to consider that these cultures possessed insights into the natural world that our own scientific language is still struggling to articulate. The past has not given up all its secrets, and the most profound lessons may still be echoing, waiting for us to learn how to hear them correctly. This confirmed mastery of sound shatters the linear story of human progress. We often picture history as a steady climb from primitive beginnings to our current technological peak, but the ancient manipulation of acoustics reveals a different reality. Entire civilizations cultivated profound, specialized sciences that do not fit neatly onto our timeline. Their achievements were not a simpler version of our own, but a parallel path of discovery. This was not a technology of silicon and steel, but a sophisticated technology of consciousness itself. They learned to sculpt the physical world using stone and geometry, to directly shape human perception, to stir deep emotion, and to forge unshakable belief. The chamber was not just a building, it was a psychological instrument. Recognizing this forces a humbling question. If something as advanced as acoustic engineering could be forgotten for millennia, what other profound sciences have been lost to time? Our modern world is built on one particular branch of knowledge, but it is not the only branch that ever grew. This perspective demands a new respect for indigenous and ancient knowledge systems. We can no longer dismiss their practices as mere superstition. The precise tuning of a tomb to 110 Hz was not magic. It was the result of careful, repeated experimentation. The transformation of a clap into a sacred bird call was not a legend, it was applied physics. These were valid empirical sciences, refined over generations of deep observation and interaction with the natural world. To acknowledge this ancient intelligence is to profoundly enrich our understanding of human potential. It connects us to a shared heritage of ingenuity that spans the globe, reminding us that the drive to understand and manipulate our environment is a fundamental human trait. This revised view of our past does more than change history books. It offers a new blueprint for our future. It suggests that the most profound technologies might not always be the ones we hold in our hands, but those that resonate within us. The modern archaeologist listens with more than just their ears. The toolkit of the 21st century investigator includes technologies that transform silent ruins back into resonant halls. Laser scanning, known as LiDAR, now maps ancient sites with millimeter precision, creating a perfect digital twin of every surface, every angle, every carved niche. This three-dimensional model is not just a visual replica, it becomes a virtual laboratory. When imported into acoustic simulation software, these digital stones can sing once more. Researchers can place a virtual sound source anywhere in the model and generate an auralization, a precise digital reconstruction of how a chant or a drumbeat would have traveled, reverberated, and decayed within the original space. It is like a time machine for sound. To understand these spaces as living systems, scientists deploy wireless sensor networks. These small, unobtrusive monitors remain on site for weeks or months, silently collecting data on how subtle shifts in temperature, humidity, and even air pressure minutely alter a chamber's resonant frequency. A room that sounds one way in the cool morning might have a completely different character in the heat of the afternoon, and this continuous monitoring captures that dynamic, breathing nature of ancient acoustics. For the most perplexing sonic phenomena, like the perfect Quetzal bird chirp at Chichén Itzá, spectrogram analysis provides the answers. This technique deconstructs a sound into its visual components, plotting its frequencies and amplitudes over time. By analyzing the spectrogram of the staircase echo, researchers can see the exact acoustic recipe that transforms a sharp hand clap into a warbling bird call, identifying the specific reflections and interference patterns that create the magic. This technological suite does more than satisfy curiosity. It is a vital tool for preservation. The same sensors that measure resonance can also monitor the damaging impact of mass tourism and environmental change on these delicate sonic properties. The data provides a baseline, allowing conservators to know if the unique echo of a chamber is fading due to vibration, erosion, or modern restoration efforts, enabling them to act before the sound is lost forever. This marriage of cutting-edge science with ancient stone is turning centuries of speculation into irrefutable, data-rich evidence. As this library of acoustic fingerprints grows, a fascinating new possibility emerges: the chance to not just study the past, but to build with its wisdom, applying these rediscovered principles to shape the sound of our own future. The same principles that once resonated in ancient tombs are now shaping the architecture of our daily lives. A quiet revolution is underway in modern design, where architects are consciously integrating the rediscovered science of sacred acoustics to build environments that actively support human well-being. This is not mere historical homage, it is a practical application of a timeless truth: that the sound of a space profoundly influences how we feel, think, and connect. The most direct translation of this ancient wisdom is found in the modern concert hall. Masterpieces like the Berlin Philharmonic are engineered not just for loudness, but for sonic richness and clarity. Their architects deliberately avoided large, flat surfaces that create harsh echoes, instead employing complex, irregular shapes and carefully angled panels. This technique, known as diffuse reflection, scatters sound waves gently throughout the hall, much like the curved walls of Malta's hypogeum. The result is an immersive, enveloping sound that makes every member of the audience, no matter their seat, feel intimately connected to the music. The goal is the same as it was in the theater of Epidaurus: to use architecture to create a shared, transformative experience for everyone present. This conscious design for human experience is now expanding beyond performance spaces into the very places dedicated to our health. Forward-thinking hospitals and wellness centers are beginning to incorporate healing soundscapes and resonant rooms specifically for meditation and therapy. These spaces often feature tuned resonators or embedded speaker systems that produce low-frequency vibrations, directly applying the ancient concept of vibroacoustic therapy that was practiced in the Asclepians. Patients dealing with stress or chronic discomfort may spend time in these rooms, allowing the gentle, physical sensation of sound to promote deep relaxation, lower heart rate, and ease mental tension. It is a clinical validation of what ancient healers understood intuitively: that sound can be a powerful tool for restoring balance to the human body. This return to acoustic intentionality is also echoing through modern places of worship. Contemporary churches, mosques, and temples are increasingly being designed with their sonic purpose in mind. Architects select materials and craft shapes that naturally enhance the human voice and support communal singing, using reverberation to blend many individual voices into a single, powerful chorus. This sonic fusion fosters a profound sense of unity and collective transcendence, much as it did for ancient rituals. We are witnessing a full circle moment where the empirical knowledge of the ancients is not just being studied, but actively integrated into the blueprint of the 21st century. This proves their fundamental understanding was correct: that by tuning our spaces, we can tune our minds and our communities. And if we can design for serenity and health, then we can also design for clarity and learning in the heart of our public life. These same acoustic principles are now quietly revolutionizing our most essential shared spaces. A library is no longer just a place of quiet. It is being redesigned as a sanctuary for focused thought. The ancient challenge of balancing sound, of creating an environment that focuses rather than distracts the mind, is being solved with modern ingenuity. Architects are using sound-absorbing panels that resemble art, carpets woven with dense fibers, and ceilings perforated with tiny holes that trap noise, all working together to drastically reduce the distracting flutter of reverberation. The goal is not utter silence, which can be unnerving, but a state of acoustic comfort where the rustle of a page or the click of a keyboard does not travel, allowing every individual to sink into their own cognitive world without intrusion. This careful management of background noise directly reduces what psychologists call cognitive load, freeing up mental energy for reading, comprehension, and deep learning. The result is a space that feels intuitively right, where concentration comes effortlessly because the architecture itself is working to protect it. This philosophy extends dynamically into the modern classroom. Here, the enemy is the Lombard effect, the natural tendency for people to talk louder in a noisy room, creating a spiraling cacophony that makes it impossible for students to hear the teacher or each other. By installing acoustic ceilings and wall treatments that absorb this background chatter, designers can lower the overall noise floor by several decibels. This simple intervention has a profound impact. Speech intelligibility soars. Children in the back row can hear every word without straining, and teachers no longer have to exhaust their voices competing with the room. Studies consistently show that in such acoustically optimized classrooms, student performance on standardized tests improves, reading skills develop faster, and overall engagement increases. The room itself becomes a partner in the educational process. We are even seeing the creation of acoustic zones within open-plan offices and museums. Using not just physical materials but sophisticated digital signal processing, subtle sound fields can be projected to create pockets of auditory privacy in the midst of a bustling space, or to gently mask distracting conversations with a soft, ambient hum. This is the practical, widespread revival of an ancient truth. The builders of Newgrange and the Hypogeum understood that a space's sound could induce awe or alter consciousness. We are now applying that same foundational understanding to induce calm and enhance clarity. We are relearning that the sonic environment is not a secondary feature, but a core component of human well-being and intellectual potential. This is not just historical curiosity. It is a living science, and its principles are something we can all learn to listen for in the world around us. Your own voice can become the most powerful tool for exploring these ancient spaces. You do not need a degree in physics to connect with this acoustic legacy, only a willingness to listen with intention. When you find yourself standing within a monumental chamber or at the base of a grand pyramid, pause for a moment. Let the silence settle and then become an active participant in the science. Clap your hands once sharply. Listen not just for the echo but for its character. Does it return as a single, clean reply, or does it shimmer and linger, washing back over you in multiple waves? Try holding a steady, low note with your voice. Pay close attention to whether the space seems to grab onto that note and amplify it, making it feel richer and more powerful, as if the stones themselves are singing along. Notice how the sound feels different in the very center of a room compared to a corner, where you might find pockets of surprising quiet or strange amplification. Modern technology can add another layer to this personal investigation. A simple smartphone app capable of measuring sound frequency and volume can give you a rough snapshot of the room's acoustic profile. You might see the numbers spike around 110 Hz, that frequency so often linked to altered states of awareness, giving you a tangible data point for the feeling the space evokes. This practice of active listening transforms a visit from a visual tour into a full-body experience. The science ceases to be an abstract concept in a textbook and becomes something you feel in your bones. Carry this new awareness with you into other spaces. When you enter a vast cathedral or a modern concert hall, listen for the same principles at work. Notice how the reverberation of a choir or the clarity of a single speaker is shaped by the architecture around you. By engaging your ears, you join a tradition of discovery that spans generations. You are no longer just a visitor observing history. You are an explorer interacting with it, using your own perception to decode the genius of the past. Each personal observation becomes a small but valuable piece in the vast, collaborative puzzle of understanding how our ancestors shaped their world, not just for the eye, but for the ear and the spirit. The allure of ancient mysteries sometimes invites stories that sound more like science fiction than history. One persistent idea suggests these resonant chambers were actually sophisticated power plants, using sound vibrations to generate tangible energy. Yet, after decades of rigorous study, no physical evidence has been found for machinery, energy storage, or power distribution systems. The stones resonate, but they do not produce electricity. Another popular but misleading notion revolves around a single magical frequency, often cited as 432 Hz, purported to hold universal healing properties. While it is true that specific frequencies can measurably affect brain waves and promote relaxation, the search for one secret tone misses the entire point of ancient practice. These cultures were not using a universal key, they were masterfully tuning each unique space to its own specific resonant signature, creating a customized sonic environment for each ritual and location. It is also crucial to recognize that not every echo in an old structure is a sign of lost science. A natural limestone cave can produce remarkable acoustic effects purely by chance. The true genius of ancient engineers is revealed in the statistical analysis, in the repeatable, predictable acoustic properties found in their most important monuments, properties that are conspicuously absent from their everyday dwellings. This distinction is what separates accidental acoustics from intentional design. The verified reality is, in many ways, more impressive than the myth. The fact that diverse cultures, from the Maya to the Maltese, independently discovered how to sculpt sound with stone is a profound testament to human ingenuity. Embellishing their story with speculative powers actually diminishes their real, measurable achievement. Applying critical thinking is not about dismissing the wonder of these sites, but about honoring the ancient builders with a clear-eyed, evidence-based understanding of their true capabilities. By focusing on what the stones demonstrably do, rather than what we might wish they did, we build a foundation of respect and build a credible science that can genuinely listen to the past. This sonic heritage is as fragile as it is ancient. The very act of experiencing these chambers can begin to erode their most precious quality. The accumulated warmth and moisture from 100 visitors can subtly shift the humidity within a sealed stone space, changing the speed of sound and dampening its resonant clarity. The constant low-frequency rumble of tourist footfalls and murmured conversations acts like acoustic sandpaper, slowly wearing down the precise reverberation times that defined the space for millennia. Even well-intentioned preservation efforts, like installing protective walkways or modern lighting systems, can inadvertently scatter sound waves in new ways, altering the acoustic fingerprint the builders so carefully designed. This has sparked a quiet revolution in conservation, a movement that treats a site's soundscape not as a curious side effect, but as a core component of its identity, as vital to preserve as its carved reliefs or structural integrity. The goal is to protect the experience itself. This can mean implementing strict visitor quotas, establishing silent hours where people can listen to the pure acoustics of the space, or using wireless sensor networks to monitor the sonic environment without leaving a physical trace. The ethical dilemma is deeply challenging. When we modify a resonant chamber for tourist access, are we preserving a monument while simultaneously destroying its primary function? These structures were not built to be silent museums. They were designed as living instruments. To lose their voice is to lose a fundamental part of their meaning. This responsibility extends beyond physical preservation into the realm of interpretation. How we share this knowledge matters. Reproducing these soundscapes through high-fidelity recordings or immersive virtual reality allows global access without subjecting the originals to further wear. It is a way to let the stones speak without forcing them to shout over the noise of the modern world. This careful stewardship ensures that future generations will not just read about these acoustic marvels, but will have the opportunity to stand in awe and feel the same vibrations that once shaped ancient rituals and beliefs. We are learning to listen to the past, and in doing so, we are learning how to save its voice. The future of this sonic rediscovery demands a chorus of many voices, not a single expert's monologue. Unlocking the full meaning of these chambers requires a radical collaboration, where archaeologists work side by side with historians, ethnomusicologists, physicists, and neuroscientists. Each field contributes a vital piece to the puzzle. A historian provides the cultural script, detailing the specific chants and rituals once performed within the stone walls. An ethnomusicologist can identify the scales and rhythms sacred to that culture, offering clues about the sounds the architecture was designed to amplify. Meanwhile, a material scientist analyzes the unique mineral composition of the granite or limestone, quantifying its exact reflective properties. This convergence is where the true magic happens. Imagine a research team at a site like Chavin de Huanta. The archaeologist maps the labyrinth, the physicist measures the resonant frequency of the central chamber, and the neuroscientist then studies how that exact frequency influences brainwave patterns in volunteers. Suddenly, a holistic picture emerges, connecting the physical design of the space directly to its intended cultural use and its measurable psychological impact. This is not just speculation anymore, it is a chain of evidence linking stone to spirit. This collaborative model is rapidly becoming the standard, with interdisciplinary conferences and joint research papers yielding breakthroughs that were impossible a generation ago. It reflects a profound shift in our own approach, one that curiously mirrors the ancient worldview we are studying. Those master builders saw no dividing line between the science of geometry, the art of music, and the spirituality of ritual. For them, it was a single, unified expression of a harmonious cosmos. By breaking down the walls between our modern disciplines, we are not just learning about their world, we are, in a way, learning to think like them. This fusion of old and new, of hard data and human experience, promises to reveal even deeper layers of meaning. The next astonishing revelation might not come from a new excavation, but from a shared database where an architect's model, a historian's text, and a neurologist's scan finally align. Sound bypasses the intellect to speak directly to the body. A sudden, sharp noise sends a jolt of adrenaline through your system before your mind even processes what it was, while the steady rhythm of ocean waves can lull the nervous system into a state of deep calm. This is the visceral power that ancient architects sought to command. They were not merely amplifying volume, they were engineering emotional and psychological states. Within the resonant chamber of a tomb, a low, sustained chant could become a physical vibration felt in the chest, a sensation so primal it could dissolve the sense of individual self and foster a powerful feeling of unity among participants. This was social engineering through vibration, using the shared physical experience of sound to strengthen the bonds of community and belief. The builders knew that an environment filled with chaotic, harsh noise creates anxiety and distraction, while a space with controlled, harmonious reverberation promotes focus and a sense of awe. They were, in essence, crafting the first psychological sanctuaries, using stone to filter the chaos of the outside world and replace it with an ordered sonic reality that guided the mind toward specific, elevated states. This ancient insight resonates with startling urgency in our modern world. We now live in a constant bath of digital noise and unpredictable sonic clutter, from the jarring ping of notifications to the relentless hum of traffic. This cacophony exerts a silent tax on our mental resources, increasing stress and fracturing our attention. Understanding the intentionality of ancient acoustics gives us a new lens for our own lives. It invites us to ask what our own sonic environments are shaping within us. Are the spaces we inhabit, both physical and digital, designed to calm and focus us, or to agitate and distract? The quest for a harmonious soundscape is not a new age luxury, but a timeless human need, a direct link to those first engineers who understood that to shape sound is to shape the human experience itself. These resonant chambers might have been more than sensory instruments. They could have been libraries. The science of cymatics reveals how sound, when directed onto a plate of sand or liquid, organizes matter into intricate geometric patterns, a different frequency creating a different visible form. Some researchers speculate that the precise low frequencies sustained within a chamber like Newgrange could have been used to inscribe complex information onto malleable surfaces, a form of data storage written not with symbols but with vibration itself. The sound becomes both the pen and the message. This leads to an even more mind-bending possibility, the creation of auditory phantoms. The complex interference patterns generated in a large stone chamber can produce localized standing waves, areas where sound cancels itself out. An initiate standing in one of these nodes would experience a pocket of profound silence, even while a ritual chant thundered around them, a powerful and disorienting illusion of being cut off from the world. Could these zones have been used for solitary vision quests or as tests of spiritual focus? The global distribution of these acoustically tuned sites presents the most controversial puzzle of all. How did cultures separated by oceans and millennia arrive at such similar architectural solutions? The recurring use of specific ratios and resonant frequencies suggests a shared foundation of knowledge. This has led some to cautiously ask whether we are looking at independent discoveries of a universal physical principle, or faint echoes of a much older, shared source, a precursor civilization or a deep network of exchange that was fractured by time and catastrophe. While evidence for such a global connection remains thin and fiercely debated, the very question forces us to expand our view of history. It suggests that the story of human innovation is not a simple, linear progression, but a tapestry with many lost threads. Each solid discovery in archaeoacoustics does not close a chapter. Instead, it opens a doorway to a deeper mystery, challenging us to reconsider not just what the ancients built, but what they truly knew. Our journey started with a single whisper echoing across millennia, and it has led us to a staggering truth. These ancient builders were not primitive stoneworkers. They were masters of a unified science where architecture, music, mathematics, and spirituality converged into a single, resonant whole. The silent stones we once walked past were never silent at all. They were instruments meticulously tuned to the human soul. They were designed to heal bodies in sanctuaries of sound, to bridge the gap between humanity and the heavens, and to forge unbreakable social bonds through shared vibration. This was not magic, though its effects felt magical. It was a sophisticated technology of consciousness, achieved with nothing more than stone, geometry, and a profound understanding of the natural world. For centuries, this knowledge lay dormant, its purpose forgotten, its echoes mistaken for ghost stories. Now, as we reclaim this wisdom with our microphones and laser scanners, we are given a priceless gift, a second chance to learn from their harmony. The most profound lesson is not about the past, but about our future. It challenges our narrow definition of progress and reminds us that true advancement is not always about moving forward, but about remembering. It calls on us to listen, not just with our ears, but with our entire being, to the world we are building. What sounds will our own spaces amplify for future generations? Will they be spaces of chaos and distraction, or will we choose to construct environments of clarity, connection, and calm? The ancient echo is a question passed down through time, asking us if we are wise enough to build a world that resonates with the same intention, the same reverence for the invisible forces that shape our lives. The stones have spoken, the rest is up to us. If this journey into the world of ancient sound has stirred something within you, I would love to hear your own stories. Have you ever stood in a cathedral, a canyon, or even an old building and been struck by the way sound behaved, by an echo that felt almost intentional? Please share those experiences in the comments below. For more explorations into the hidden science of the past, be sure to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you do not miss our next adventure. The ancient philosopher Pythagoras beautifully captured the essence of what we have explored, saying, "There is geometry in the humming of the strings, there is music in the spacing of the spheres." Let us carry that wisdom forward, learning to listen for that timeless music not only in the silent stones of history, but in the very spaces we create for our own future.